This week on The Watchman, Jerusalem is thriving, and Nir Barkat, who served as mayor of the Holy City for 10 incredible years, is with us. He shares the bold strategy behind Jerusalem's rise and how it's only just begun.
Today, Jerusalem is the fastest growing high-tech hub in the world. And our economy continues to boost and develop, and Jerusalem today is one of the safest cities in the world.
Plus, we go deep inside the remains of a 2,000-year-old Jerusalem neighborhood to see what life was like during the time of Jesus and the brutal Roman occupation. All that and much more only right here on The Watchman. And welcome to The Watchman. Jerusalem is on the rise. This city is once again the focus of the world after President Trump's historic decision to move the U.S. Embassy here and recognize Jerusalem as the eternal and undivided capital of Israel. Now, I'm here all the time, and I can tell you there's an energy throughout this city today. You can feel it as you walk the streets, as you visit Machne Yehuda Market or pray at the Western Wall. Israel is setting tourism records, and Jerusalem, God's city, is like a magnet for believers from around the world who arrive here in greater numbers every day. They're fulfilling the prophecy from Isaiah. My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. Folks, Jerusalem today is prospering and blessing the world. And for over a decade, Mayor Nir Barkat was at the forefront in taking this city to a new level. He served as mayor here from 2008 until 2018, steering Jerusalem through challenges and triumphs and winning great praise for his strong leadership and vision. He's now a member of the Israeli Knesset, where he's taking that vision to even greater heights. Take a look. Well, Nir, thanks so much for joining us here in your city, Jerusalem.
Welcome, Eric. Indeed, probably the most important city in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And hey, you presided over this most important city for 10 years until just recently. And during your time as mayor, Nir, this place rose to new heights. Talk about where Jerusalem is now. It's becoming a high-tech hub. There's startups here. Great things are happening in this city.
Yeah, well, what I've focused on is the advantages Jerusalem has. First, as a holy city, as a place where billions of people around the world would like to come and visit, and we've dramatically increased tourism, fourfolds. Lots of stuff more to do, but tourism in Jerusalem today Jerusalem is the fastest growing tourism city in the world. And thank God that translates to a better economy. Another thing is we have one of the best universities in the world, the Hebrew University. And we were able to capture more and more of the talent and the entrepreneurs to stay in the city of Jerusalem. And today, Jerusalem is the fastest growing high-tech hub in the world. And its city's economy is doing well. We're the fastest growing economy in the country, more jobs created. And thank God, what we also see, that more Arab women and more Orthodox men are joining the labor force. And more people joining the labor force.
That's something you really pushed as mayor.
Very important that the economy is inclusive. It includes all residents, all tribes.
One of the great developments that happened during that time that you presided over was the U.S. Embassy moving here to Jerusalem where it belongs. Talk about why that has been such a positive development for this city, despite what all the critics and the naysayers warned us about.
Well, I'm very honored that it was under my shift. However, when you look at it, us Israelis don't need recognition. The Bible recognizes that this is our land and Jerusalem is our capital. Yet to hear it from the President of the United States, the most important and powerful person in the powerful nation in the world, the United States of America, and President Trump, it is very, very touchy and moving, and it made a difference here. It's like tectonic plates that have moved. Something big happened in that recognition. Now, again, connect the Bible to what President Trump recognized. That's a huge, huge impact on our city. I'll show you another thing. Before the move, I was asked in Congress, I visited the United States, how safe is it to move the embassy to Jerusalem? Because some people predicted maybe violence. Basically, I said to them that nothing's going to happen. But just to make sure, we compared murder rates in the streets. And turns out that the murder rate, the number of people getting killed in the streets in Washington, D.C., is 15 times higher per capita, if you compare per capita, than in Jerusalem. So when I fly to the United States, I pray to come back home safely to the city of Jerusalem.
When you think of Jerusalem these days, you think of Nir Barkat and the great things you did here. Talk about that special bond, that special connection you have to this city.
Well, I'm a Jerusalemite all my life. I remember when I was 7 years old, I lived a kilometer away where I'm pointing, right next to the border. Jerusalem was divided between the Jordanians and Israelis. And remember, we couldn't get too close to the fence, which was about 200 yards from my home, because of Jordanian snipers. So when you saw where we were in the past, and you see where we are today, and I'm very, very honored and fortunate to be part of people building the city of Jerusalem. It's a 2,000-year-old dream of our parents and great-parents and great-great-parents that never dreamt that I could sit here as ex-mayor of the city of Jerusalem for a decade and develop the city. It is hard to explain. I also made a decision 17 years ago to retire from my high-tech career. I was a high-tech entrepreneur, and to focus all my time and all my energy as a life mission to turn around the city of Jerusalem and make it succeed. So to see the city succeed today, it's with God's help, hopefully we can continue this trend.
You are a member of the Knesset right now. Talk about your latest projects at the Knesset and what's on your plate and what you're looking to do there.
The Bible says, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. From Zion, new Torah comes out. And the idea behind it is if something works in the city of Jerusalem, it works all over the world. So for me today, looking at all of Israel, we would like to see and create the Bible land, a place, a destination for tourists from all over the world to come and see Bible stories. Where in Shiloh, where the temple was for 360 years before it came to Jerusalem. And imagine next to Bethel, where Yaakov's ladder went to the sky, Jacob's ladder, with his dream. We want to make that place come alive. We know where that was. And so place after place that are relative to the Bible, we want to make them come alive and bring all people in the world to experience Bible stories in the places they were and make the Bible come alive.
Yeah, you know, one of your areas of expertise, in addition to tourism and high tech, is security. You had to deal with some of that even personally. You stopped a terrorist attack here in Jerusalem in 2015, but you've been a strong voice for Israel's security. I think of Hamas right now. The last time you and I were together, we were in Sderot. Rockets were falling. What can be done about that persistent Hamas threat that threatens every Israeli, including even here in Jerusalem, as that rocket range extends?
The Hamas has to realize, and they are looking at what is happening in the Middle East. Iran, the head of the snake, we got to hit very hard, and thank God the alignment of the United States and Israel today is going together after the bad guys. They're supplying weapons and arms and money to their proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah. And when you go for the head of the snake, it influences the whole region. And similarly, you could see that there's a high correlation between, if you want to work with the Jewish state, you have much better economy and quality of life. If you want to fight the Jewish state, you're going down the tubes and your economy is worse and it's going to get worse.
How do we take on the Iranian regime? I say we because it's not only Israel's fight, it's the West's fight as well. Talk about how Israel is the first line of defense against Iran and its proxies, not only for this land, but for the West, for the United States.
Well, Iran says that it wants to destroy Israel. And by the way, it's not only the West and Israel. The Arab moderate states are also the big threat because Iran sees how to run through them in order to eliminate Israel, to take us off the map. God forbid. And then they want to go to the West because the West is the enemy of the Islam in their perspective. And so the radical Islam is headed and funded by Iran, which is the head of the snake. They're giving funds, capital, weapons to their proxies in the Middle East, to Hamas in Gaza, to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and they hope through the proxies to take out Israel. Now, everyone understands that we're all in the same line. We may be first in line, we may be second in line, some of the Arab moderate states may be even before us because of their physical proximity. And they're scared, really, really scared of Iran. And they know they are helpless fighting Iran, and they know that Israel is the first line of defense in the Middle East. But I want to commend and thank President Trump, because he realized that the stuttering prior to his administration created a lot of havoc and damage and uncertainty in the Middle East.
That disastrous Iran nuclear deal, which thank God the U.S. pulled out of.
Thank God. Now there's new order, new world order in the Middle East. The bad guys are really, really the bad guys. We all know that. And so the moderate Arab states are now aligning more with Israel.
As we close here from Jerusalem, maybe the most diverse place in the world, by the way, Jews, Muslims, Christians, Arabs. Do you have a message for Christians who might be watching this show around the world?
Well, the role of Jerusalem is to be open for all people that care and all people that come peacefully. I think the evangelical community specifically and the other Christians love Jerusalem and love Israel. We care for you. And I felt in many, many ways that the love of the evangelical community to Israelis in general, to the Jews, and to our history is second to none. And that is a strategic ally for the city of Jerusalem. So my role is to now expand the experience we have together in Jerusalem for the rest of Israel, for the rest of the Bible land, and develop sites that actually tell the stories of the Bible in the specific locations. Hopefully, this relationship could scale and grow for the benefit of all people, of course, for us here in Jerusalem, but also for all the people that love our country and city around the world. This is very precious for Jerusalem and for myself.
Yeah, Nir, thanks so much for joining us today from Jerusalem, your city, where you were mayor for 10 years. Great being with you. Hey, good luck with these big plans you have in the Knesset. Continued success. Thanks, Nir. God bless you too. Thank you so much. Thanks again to Nir Barkat for joining us. Folks, be sure to keep an eye on him in the Israeli Knesset. Like this city, he's on the rise. Well, up next, we travel from the Jerusalem of today to the Jerusalem of 2,000 years ago during the time of Jesus. Your Bible will come to life after the break. You won't want to miss this, folks. Don't move.
As America's top diplomat, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has stood strong with Israel and held Iran accountable for its support of terrorism. Secretary Pompeo is a voice for moral clarity on the world stage, a tireless ally to Israel, a bold defender of America's interests around the world, and will be a special guest speaker at the 2019 CUFI Washington Summit.
Thank you for all you did to help get my friend Mike Pompeo confirmed as our new Secretary of State.
It is completely clear the Islamic Republic of Iran is the destabilizing force in the Middle East today.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will be speaking at our 2019 Washington Summit. Join us in our nation's capital to hear directly from Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and many other top leaders of the U.S.-Israel relationship. Register now to attend the CUFI Washington Summit on July 8th and 9th.
And welcome back to the Watchman from Jerusalem. It's been 52 years since the Jewish people regained their ancestral capital and made Jerusalem a beacon to the nations once again. Now I say once again because this city was the capital of Israel 3,000 years ago, and still 2,000 years ago, during the time of Jesus, it remained the center of Jewish worship, culture, and life. That great history is on full display at the Wohl Archaeological Museum here in Jerusalem. Our Watchman correspondent, Raj Nair, paid them a visit recently and saw firsthand the triumph and tragedy of Jewish life here under the Roman occupation during the Second Temple period. Take a look.
One of my favorite parts about the old city of Jerusalem is that down every little alleyway or hidden staircase, there's more than likely something of huge historic or biblical significance that you could just walk right by and have no idea that it's there. And where we're going today is a perfect example of that. It's called the Wohl Museum. So, what's down there? Let's go find out. Yoel, thank you for showing us around this incredible, beautiful place. So tell us, what exactly are we looking at?
First of all, we are in Jerusalem, in the holy city of Jerusalem, in the Jewish quarter of the old city. And here we are looking at a museum that is called the Wohl Museum for Antiques, the Herodian Quarter. Herodian Quarter, you know the name Herod?
Of course.
Very famous name. What you're looking here is a house. Small house, it's a huge house. We are in the basement. Up above there's one floor and there's a second floor. There's a big family living here. How do we know? Look at what we see here. We find one mikveh here. A mikveh is a ritual bath. You know what it is? Purity, impurity. Mikveh gets its water from rain. We have another mikveh over there, another mikveh down there below this arch, and a fourth one over here. That's what made us decide that the people who lived in this house were priests.
And so this place is undoubtedly 2,000 years old or more, correct?
Undoubtedly.
And so you have an extremely Jewish house here. So the idea that this city didn't have Jewish people is crazy. I mean, it's literally right in front of you.
Raj, do you use a mikveh?
No.
Do the Muslims use a mikveh?
No.
The Jews are the ones who use a mikveh. Every time you find a mikveh, and that needs to be very clear, a mikveh has to have at least 1 cubic meter of water. 3 feet on 3 feet on 3 feet of water. That's the minimum, and the water has to come from rain or from a spring. It cannot be pumped water. These things are very clear. This is a Jewish house. The mosaics are very interesting because you can see in the mosaics there are different figures. There are waves there, and there are other geometrical. But there's no face of a man or an animal because it's forbidden by the Torah to put those.
Yet another indication that this was a Jewish home.
Absolutely right.
So tell me the modern story of this place. How did this get revealed?
Actually, the modern period starts in 1967. 1967, the big war, the 6 Days War. You remember that big miracle when the Lord gave us Jerusalem back in 6 days. I was 14 years old. When the archaeologists came to Jerusalem, to the old city of Jerusalem, they found 75% of the houses, they were bombed by Jordanians. There was all destruction around here. For them, it was the Garden of Eden because they could dig whatever they want. And that's what they did. They started to dig. One bit after that, they found one layer below the other one. The first layer will be, of course, the Turkish period, Ottoman period, that goes back to 1517. Before that, we go to the time of the Mameluke. Before that, we go to the time of the Crusaders. Before the Crusaders, we go to the time of the first Islamic period. Before that, we go to the Roman period. And this is the Roman period. This is the 1st century AD.
This is stunning, but there's more.
There is a lot more. This is one of 6. Let me show you some.
Every year, the Christians United for Israel Washington Summit gets bigger, better, and more powerful.
I have faith that with God's help, with the men and women gathered here, with all those who cherish Israel, and with President Donald Trump in the White House, the best days for Israel and for America together are yet to come.
What's amazing about Christians United for Israel is not just the power of your voice, it's also the importance of the cause you have dedicated your voice to. Standing up against this global pressure campaign on Israel and the Jewish people goes to the heart of our friendship and the heart of America. And the tip of the spear is Christians United for Israel.
Join Pastor Hagee and top leaders from Israel and America this July for the 2019 CUFI Washington Summit. Register now at www.cufi.org/summit.
Yoel, these houses just keep going and going and going. And what you can tell is these were definitely the homes of very rich people. So what can we learn from that?
When we walked through, 1 hour after the other, we saw mikvahs. We saw very beautiful vessels. We saw which kinds of vessels they were using. We spoke about the fact that there were priests, definitely priests. Like I said, in this direction, 150 yards is a temple. And we see that a lot of mikvahs, that's means that work in a temple. What kind of vessels? We saw different kinds. One of them were stone vessels, and the others were clay. When a vessel gets impure, with the clay, you break the vessel, you cannot use it again. The stone vessel does not get impure. But these are very expensive vessels, so these people were rich. We saw another thing. We saw the menorah that the man, one of the people he drew, and it's exactly like it's described in the Torah. But one thing we know, look how beautiful the houses here. Look how they're decorated. Look at the fresco on the walls, just like in Masada. Rich they are, and probably not very honest. Maybe a little corrupted. You said the mosaics were painted? They were not painted. They imported the stones. These are red stones originally, or blue stones, or the yellow stones from Greece, from Cyprus, from other places. And the artists themselves were imported to Israel. To build a mosaic like this was the cost of buying a new Lamborghini.
Wow. So that tells you a lot of the political situation around the time of the destruction when Jesus would have been here. It wasn't that, Jesus was unique in criticizing these folks.
Not at all. There were a lot of them. A lot of them that went down to the desert to be far away from corruption. A lot of them have fought. The others, they were fighting here all the time.
Yoel, everything you can see here is just beautiful.
That is true. But like we said before, the word ashes turns to glory, but glory can turn to ashes. From these beautiful houses, let me show you what happened to Jerusalem. So what you see here is a wall that was burnt down. Do you see the marks of fire?
Yeah.
There are black stains all over the wall. All those beautiful houses that we saw up there were burnt down, all were full with ashes. We gathered the ashes. We put it here in a box so you could see it. Jerusalem was completely destroyed.
This is incredible. This is organic material from the moment of the destruction of Jerusalem. That's mind-blowing.
That is mind-blowing.
Wow.
But let's think of what is above us. There's a brand new yeshiva. This is a museum, a very unique museum in the world. You see, when the archaeologists dug here, they thought, how are we going to preserve it all? This area is very dear. It's, people build houses, millions of dollars. How are we going to keep it? They found the best solution. They built pillars and built on top a very big school for Torah. Thousands of pupils studying out there, and we here are touring the city of Jerusalem for 2,000 years.
What a way to wrap that up. Here we have literally the ashes of the destruction of Jerusalem. Absolutely. And right above us, a living, active Jewish community inside the Jewish quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. Yoel, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, my man.
Thanks again to Watchman correspondent Nir for bringing history to life for us here in Jerusalem. Well, up next, my final thoughts on where this city has been and where it's heading. That's after the break. Don't move.
The silence of millions of Christian bystanders during Hitler's rise to power emboldened the Nazis to carry out their evil extermination plan against the Jewish people. Today, anti-Semitism is on the rise again, and some are even claiming the Holocaust never happened. As Christians, we must not be silent in response to these lies.
To see evil and not call it evil is evil. Not to act is to act. Not to speak is to speak.
This month, CUFI is offering a powerful new mini-book, The Sin of Silence, which documents the first-hand accounts of both the perpetrators and witnesses of the Holocaust. As the generation that experienced the Holocaust disappears, we must keep the memories of these witnesses alive to ensure that such a horror never happens again. Call Christians United for Israel at 210-477-4714 or go to kufi.org/silence to receive your copy of The Sin of Silence when you support Kufi with a gift of any amount.
Welcome back to The Watchman. We are wrapping up from here in Jerusalem, and I love today's program because it showed the continuity of the Jewish people here in Jerusalem for over 3,000 years, from King David to Jesus to today. This is undeniably the ancient and eternal capital of Israel. Now, God says it many times throughout the Bible, but as we saw today at the Wohl Museum, archaeology says it time after time. Folks, great things are happening here, and there are even greater things yet to come. The book of Jeremiah says that a time is coming when Jerusalem will be called the throne of the Lord, and all nations will gather in Jerusalem to honor the name of the Lord. We see that stirring today as thousands upon thousands of believers from around the world are coming up to Jerusalem to worship the God of Israel in record numbers. That's because we live in Bible times. Now, don't forget to attend our Kufi Washington Summit, which is coming up in a few short weeks in D.C. That's July 7th, 8th, and 9th. You see the information there on your screen. So I will look forward to seeing you there, and I'll look forward to seeing you back here in Jerusalem very soon. Until then, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.